It's another day in my kitchen making some freezer meals. This is part 2 of a 2-part series because today we're focusing on getting some freezer meals with chicken and turkey. So feel free to join me. Hey y'all, welcome back to Grains and Grit. My name is Felicia, and on this channel I'm typically teaching about real whole grains from a biblical perspective, how and why to be milling your grains, and more. So today is different because we're doing some freezer meals still with whole grains, but we're focusing on chicken and turkey. So again, this is part 2 of a 2-part series. Part 1, we used beef, and I'll link that video down below so you can check that out. I also have a freebie for y'all with that one as well, showing my shopping list and recipes. This one's different because we're using a lot of chicken. We raise our own chicken, as you can see. This is why I have a ton of whole chickens. We're needing to start clearing our freezers out. So that's what I'm doing today. We got a ton of chicken, which means I have to get them, deboned and all of that. So we're cutting all of these up. With these meals, ideally, you can obviously just buy like chicken breast or chicken thighs, whatever you like to use, but we raise our own, so we're using it whole. So with this, we're doing a lot of things. So what you saw at the beginning was kind of all the things that I had to get grocery-wise. So the produce and stuff to make this. And so today I'm gonna be sharing with y'all a family recipe, a gumbo family recipe, but not your typical gumbo because there's actually no pork or shrimp involved. My husband was raised on the dietary law, and this is a family recipe where they made a gumbo but with chicken and like beef sausage or turkey sausage. So for those of you who do not eat pork or shellfish, this is actually a great recipe for y'all because we're using turkey and beef kielbasa. Now you can use the pork kielbasa, totally fine. And really, as with any gumbo, it's kind of a measure everything with your heart type of thing. So what you see here is just me cutting up the chicken. Now I am separating all of this out. The bones and carcasses are going into my huge All-American canner because I actually make chicken stock. When I do a big batch, I actually use my All-American canner in order to do that because it's my largest pot and it works great to be able to do that. So carcasses are going in there. I am deboning these, so I'm getting the breast out where we're having the boneless breast that goes in one pot along with the thighs that I will be deboning. So legs go in one of these freezer bags. So one of these freezer bags, I'm going to have all of the chicken legs, and that I'm going to freeze for a meal down the road. And the other bag is actually the chicken wings. So I'm going to have a ton here, and it's really great. So whenever we do wings for my family, I have some of our own. So this is a way to break up, a whole chicken, is allow yourself to do multiple recipes. Use some for now, freeze some for later. It's really up to you. And then with that, of course, making stock. And with big batches of stock, you can either can it, freeze it, or in my case, use it for like the rest of the week for meals or for the recipes that I am doing. So we're gonna keep cutting up all these chickens. These took me forever. Like, it really took me forever. So with doing this, I do recommend very sharp knives and also having a honing rod, which is what you've seen me use, because that allows me to hone my knives. This is an in-between instead of sharpening it, because sharpening knives removes part of the actual knife blade. And so that's why you don't want to just sharpen your knives all the time, but honing gets it back to where you're honing to a fine point, so where it's sharp again without actually sharpening it and removing part of the steel. Google it for that. So I will be linking that below, but I definitely use these when doing chicken. I hone often whenever I'm cutting through cutting through chicken and things like that, because you're going to notice like the knives start going dull. So you just hone it. That's why professional chefs, you see them doing the honing rod all the time. So knife tips, knife tips here for y'all. So we're going to keep on doing this until it's done. Okay, y'all, I did it. I think this was like 15 chickens. And so now I have a bag of chicken legs, a bag of the cut up chicken wings that you see here. And the bowl is the breast and the thighs, and there's the carcasses for the chicken stock. So for chicken stock, this is also the same as turkey, but I do not measure. So I just usually throw in some carrots, celery if I have it, onions with the skins. You can throw in some garlic, cover it all up with water. And then I do like to add salt. So real salt, this is kind of just how you like it. You don't have to add salt. But then Italian seasoning. So where people add in herbs, I do it very quick, where I just add in dried Italian seasoning, and it gives it a really great flavor. It's super quick to do. And then also some raw apple cider vinegar. I learned this, I think, from Nourishing Traditions, where when you add the apple cider vinegar in, it actually helps leach more of the gelatin and broth from the bones. So I always just add that in, and it all depends on like how much stock I'm making. So I think for one bird, it's usually like 1 tablespoon. And then we have a turkey. So this is a turkey that I had in my freezer. Someone gave it to us. And so I'm going to be actually using this for the gumbo because it's got a lot of meat on it. And so we're going to do that. So family recipe with gumbo. For this, because it's a whole turkey, is we need to cook it. And so what I do is I kill 2 birds with 1 stone. So I put it in a pot with water, and then I boil it, simmer it until the meat is cooked. And so with that, I have the stock to use for the gumbo as well as the meat being cooked. So I don't season any of it. I don't put salt when I do this. I don't make it like my normal stock, because I'm going to be adding in a ton of seasonings for the gumbo. And so like with anything, when it's done, you need to remove it, let the meat cool a little bit, and then debone it, strain your stock as well. Just making sure that, you know, there's no bones in there type of thing. And so I usually use these mesh strainers in order to do that. And then any scraps go to dogs or chickens. And so here we have the turkey. And then now I'm getting out all the mini seasonings and things for the gumbo. Now, here's the difficulty with this is I don't have a printable recipe for y'all because I don't know how much I use with this. This is all if I measure to taste, really. So I'm going to kind of walk you through it of what I use. So what you see here is me chopping up into bite-sized pieces. This is like beef kielbasa. It's those, you can use andouille sausage. I mean, whatever you're wanting to use, but bottom line, you know, these sausage type things that you get from the store. And again, just cutting it up into bite-sized pieces. And then I love grabbing these seasoning blends because it's frozen. This is a seasoning blend. I think celery, onions, and carrots. You can use vegetables. You just got to take the time to dice it all up. And so you do need to, this is just a little bit of oil in the pan, and we're going to cook these slightly. I mean, they're already cooked, but this allows it to get a bit of a smoky type flavor, and you're just cooking it until they're nice and brown, or you know, if you want it a little bit more crispy, that's fine, but just let's cook these for however long it takes. This does take me a few minutes, and I just periodically, you know, flip them to make sure it's all browning just fine. And then whenever it's done, I add it to the pot with the stock. So the stock that I have here, eyeballing it, I believe it's around 8 to maybe 10 cups of stock. So this makes a ton of gumbo. And so after you do the sausage, you then put in the vegetables, whether they're frozen, thawed, or raw, because either way, you just need to cook them in the oil or grease until they are nice and softened. And so here's the diced up turkey that I have. Again, I eyeball this to taste. You know, if you want more meat in it, that's fine. And then we're going to add some Tony Chatters. So with your Tony Chatters and your hot sauce, this is what makes it spicy. So add to taste. And then I add parsley. This is about 1/8 of a cup of parsley in here. And then liquid smoke. This is, I believe, I added, let's see, that is 1, and then 2, and 3 tablespoons of liquid smoke. And then we have onion powder. This is, I believe, I added 2 tablespoons to this, maybe 1.5 to 2 tablespoons. And then we have garlic powder. This is about, I think, 1.5 tablespoons of garlic powder. And then we have our Frank's hot sauce, or any sort of like cayenne based hot sauce. And usually I'm adding around half a bottle of that. But again, I go by taste. So if you don't like it as spicy, back off on that hot sauce. So we've added in our vegetables, and then we just put everything back over. I'm adding a little bit more hot sauce, and then, you know, you do have to taste it and add in salt as needed. I can't remember if I added in salt or not. And then I just taste, and I go by that. Usually, sometimes I also take it to my husband to see, you know, is this good? And he will tell me whether I need to add more or not. So that, in essence, is gumbo. a more dietary law friendly gumbo, I would say. And now we're just taking the rest of this turkey because I didn't need to use it all, and we're going to be chopping it up. I'm actually going to be freezing another gumbo recipe, so that's ready to go. All that I'll have to do is add in the stock, and again, really, I just add in the stock to I just eyeball it to get to a as soupy or thick of a consistency as you want. And so I'm just adding the rest of this turkey. I think I used one whole turkey breast for the gumbo, so this is another turkey breast for another one. And then I'm also using the wings and the thighs and the legs. That meat I'm actually just gonna dice up and freeze, so that way I just have cooked turkey for later, whether it's for like making a, you know, chicken salad but with turkey or whatever I'm needing. Okay, so I got the cooked turkey in the bag in the fridge. So this is now the rest of just the gumbo recipe type stuff. So again, same thing is I still go ahead and cook this sausage. Again, it's already cooked, saute. That's the word. Sauteing the sausage. I go ahead and do that, add that to the bag. And then I keep the vegetables frozen, you know, because it's about to be frozen anyway. So that I just stay frozen, and then I just add in the seasonings. Again, I'm just kind of guessing and eyeballing it. I can always adjust the seasonings, you know, after it's cooked. You know, you can add in more salt, more garlic powder, you know, whatever it is that you're wanting to do. Again, it is to your taste. And I will go ahead and say the reason the liquid smoke is used is because there is no bacon or your typical sausage. It just gives it more of that smoky type flavor. So if you don't like that, you can just omit the liquid smoke, but that's why we use that. Okay, so new day, new outfit. And what I'm actually doing here is the gumbo we had last night for supper, but it is huge. And so the leftovers I just put in the fridge last night, and that's all nice and cooled down. And so now I'm just putting it in a bag, and we can have it for another meal down the road. So that's another way to do freezer meals, is just like double or triple what you're already making for supper, and then just freeze the rest of it. So I did make a note on the bag, maybe to possibly add more turkey whenever I did that, because I did notice, you know, not as much turkey as we normally would have liked. Good news, I have the leftover frozen turkey, so that's something I can just add in later on. But anytime you need to tweak or make notes, just add that on the bag. Okay, so here I'm actually cutting up the rest of the breast thighs that I had for a recipe that I'm really not going to bother sharing because it wasn't that great. So part of this will be for an Instant Pot meal that we're going to be having for family tonight, and sorry, for our supper tonight. So that goes in the Instant Pot, so that's something for tonight. And then the rest of it was actually a recipe for like a chicken marsala, a freezing meal for that. Thankfully, I only made one batch of that, and it may have just been my error, because after it was like slow cooking all day, the chicken was just very stringy. But more about that later. Right now, we're actually going to be straining or getting, working on the chicken stock or that we have done. So these are all the carcasses, and it's kind of a system where you have different strainers to get out the big stuff, the small stuff, and you got to figure out your system. So I'm kind of double straining it here, and so we're pulling out all the bones, all the vegetable stuff. This is all great where either I feed, usually it just goes to my chickens because they love it. The bones are soft. I think we might be okay feeding. No, we normally don't feed the chicken bones to our dogs, just to be on the safe side. We don't want any bones being caught in their throats, but because we have had issues with that before. But either way, regardless, that you discard. And so now we have to use our muscles, because this is a heavy canner, to dump out the rest of this. And you will see that this broth, I let it go longer than I usually do. And that's why it's really dark. And so for recipes, I actually was kind of cutting it with water just because it was really, really rich stock, and I just don't need it that rich. And so I put these in these Cambro containers, and then I needed these later in the week, so I just put them aside in the fridge so I could use it throughout the week. And then here's that recipe that I was talking about. This is for tonight, where it's kind of like a pasta chicken with I think some sun-dried tomatoes type thing, and it was good, but nothing to really write home about, I will say. So that's why I'm not really including the recipes. But again, I'm already in my kitchen. So while I'm in my kitchen, let's maximize the amount of space that we can do that. So that's what you see here. So one thing you may notice is me making this chicken marsala for a crock pot recipe. Again, it's just a new recipe that I'm trying out, and it just wasn't that great. But again, that may have been my error, maybe letting it cook too long, where the meat was just too stringy. And also, this isn't a true chicken marsala because there's no marsala wine in here. And I love chicken marsala. So in the real deal, and I've made it before where, with the marsala wine and everything. So that might be why this was maybe just my error and not to our taste. Because, chicken marsala, you gotta have the marsala wine, in my opinion. But we tried it, and sometimes mistakes happen, and you can tweak the recipe for later, try to make it better, learn from your mistakes. So don't be afraid to make mistakes in the kitchen, because frankly, it's gonna happen, and you're not gonna know until you actually put yourself out there to try it. So just make mistakes, get messy, as Miss Crystal says from Magic School Bus. So that's it, y'all. Part 1, be sure to check that out. That is with beef, and again, I do have that freebie with a shopping list and recipes for y'all. That was last week's video, and I will link that video up here as well on the screen. And as always, I hope that y'all have a wonderful day.